Hi, this is a very quick video just to introduce a little bit of software called Jeliot. This is available on all of the machines um, in school computing, and it's quite useful for those of you who are having problems visualizing what's happening during a program. So you can find Jeliot just by looking under all programs or doing a search, and it opens up a window something like this. Now I've already got a file opened up, but you can choose a file of your own. I've got this one called average and open, and it will open up the file over here in a little window. If you want to, you can edit this file, but it's probably best that you've got something that you know already works from a different development environment. What does this do? Well, it just works out the average. You have to enter the number of items to be processed, and then it's a little while loop. To use Jeliot, what we do is we first of all compile, and compiling opens the window over here, which is called the theatre, and this is going to display all the values that are being used and declared. The variables and the values that are being used during the program. And then what we do is we'll press play. I'm just going to change the animation speed a little bit lower. So we press play, and what happens is, make it a little bit lower still. Jeliot will work through line by line the program, and you'll see here that it's introduced some variables and it's given them values. Then it's creating a new scanner and assigning it. And this is all the assignment of an object. So now we've got a scanner which can be used. You'll see there that anything that goes in the console, a little hand appears from underneath. And then we've got to the part where it's asking for some user input. Now I'm not going to put in many things, so I'm just going to put in 3 here. And if I press return, it will assign 3 to n, because that's what n becomes equal to whatever's input. Then we go into the while loop, we do a little test, outputs on the screen, enter the next item of data, and then a 0 plus, and we've got a in.next double, so looking for a value. I'm going to put in 1.1 and return. 1.1 gets added on to 0 to get 1.1, and then it gets assigned to sum. Then count gets 1 added onto that. You see the count is now 1. 1 is tested to see if it's less than 3. That's true, so we continue into the while loop. Grabs a little output onto the screen again, and it'll come up with a little box. So 1.3, so I'll put in 1.1. 1.3 gets added onto the running total to get 2.4, which is saved in the variable sum. Overwrites the previous value. Then we test to see count is 1 added onto it. See whether that's still less than 3. Yes. Another string gets displayed on the screen. We're going to get another input. Well, I'll put in 2.3. So 2.3, the next value will get added onto the running total to give us a total of 4.7. Count gets 1 added onto it to become 3. We test whether 3 is less than 3, which it isn't. It's equal to 3. So we exit the while loop and we go on to the next line, which is sum divided by n. 4.7 divided by 3 gives us that value. That gets assigned to average, and then it gets spat out onto the console window. Okay, and then everything gets wiped, everything gets removed from scope, and we're back to the beginning. Okay, so that was a fairly simple sort of example. Let's go back to the file. If I just close that down, I can open up this one here. I think this one, yeah, this is another average, but this time it uses an array. If I compile it, open up the theatre and press play, we see that something slightly different happens here. We don't have a scanner, but we have this new double for, which creates a little array and then assigns values to them. And then that array gets assigned to the array called values. Sum gets set to 0. Average doesn't have a value at the moment. And then this time we've got a for loop. So we've got a little counter for I. And we test whether I is less than 4. It's true. So we enter the loop. We add value 0, which is 1.2, so that gets added on, saved in sum. Then we add one onto I, test whether we're still going round the loop. And if you follow this through, you can trace through the whole process. Will I increase the speed a little? Let's increase the speed a little. Increase the speed. Just basically going to go through and add all these things up. 2 is still less than 4, so we continue around the loop. It's 5.7 plus 6.7, which is this, the third item in the array. And then 3 is still less than 4, so we continue around the loop. And we're going to get values 3, which is minus 1.1, add that into the array. That's right. Get a sum of 11.3. 4 is not less than 4, so we exit the for loop, do our division, get 2.825, and we see the average is 2.825. A little hand will come up and spit that out onto the console window. Okay. And you should have found that as we ran through that, once I was finished being used in the for loop, it disappeared from the list of variables that we could use. Just go back to the edit window, and I've got a third version here. This involves a little method. If we compile this, same sort of thing will happen. But this time it starts the main method where the array is assigned and first initialized, and then, oops, I've got a mistake. So let's go back to, oh, I didn't declare it. I thought I'd save that. But there you go, there's a little error in it, so you know what happens when there's an error. Let's play this. This should work. So it assigns the array, initializes all the values, and then allocates it to the variable values. And then average is equal to, and now it's called this separate method, and you'll see that the method sum of array is being called here. And you can see it does the same as before. It adds up all the values. If you just increase the speed a little bit, we'll get through it a little faster. So it continues going through the loop. 4.5 gets added on. Add 1 onto I, and then 6.7 will be added on to the running total. I gets 1 added onto it, then minus 1.1 gets added on to the running total. There we go. It will leave the loop. I gets thrown out because it's not in scope. We go back to the main method, and we'll print on the screen same thing as before. Okay, to get away from the theatre, we just click on the edit button again. There are lots of examples here that you might want to have a look at, merge sorts and things. Merge sorts quite an interesting one, which involves arrays. A bit more technical, how to sort 2 arrays together. And it uses some random values to assign random values to all these things, and then using typecasting, it turns them all into integers. So there we go. And every time you run this, it's going to be different. So experiment with that. It's on all the machines. It might help you visualize what's happening. Not really a development environment, more a teaching tool to understand what processes are happening when you run a Java program. Okay, enjoy.